Hi, my name's Sherene and thank you for joining me this afternoon. Today I'll be discussing two main things. One, key updates in the migration industry, and two, a little bit about the Graduate Diploma in Migration Law at Victoria University. So if you have any questions during this session, please feel free to pop them in the chat box and I'll be answering them for you. In regards to the migration program, there has been quite a number of key updates that could affect students who are planning to migrate to Australia. The Australian government, in response to the COVID pandemic, has provided a couple of allowances to current students and students who are planning to apply for another student visa. On the slide, you will see a website link in regards to further information in regards to these sort of allowances for student visa holders or prospective student visa holders. A couple of the key concessions are that they are providing fee waivers for certain students. They are providing extra time to provide English test results, biometrics, and health results. And you would have seen recently that they have been providing more sort of relaxed permissions in regards to student visa conditions. Now, I do have to say, in regards to these allowances, students should be very careful in adopting these allowances moving forward. Because this situation is very fluid, I would strongly recommend that students do get immigration advice, professional immigration advice, if they do feel like they fall within these categories, but they want to take the right next steps. Some other sort of permissions or allowances that the government has done is for the temporary graduate visa applicants, in the fact that they have said that they will allow some online study to be counted in regards to the Australian study requirement. But this is on the premise that they are holding a student visa. Again, with this temporary graduate work visa, they are also allowing a little bit more time in regards to applicants providing their English or health results. But again, as I said, this is a very fluid situation, and these sort of allowances won't be in place forever. So really, again, if the student thinks that they do fall within these allowances, to please double check, because you wouldn't want them to be affected negatively in any way. So what I would like to move on to is just giving you a quick overview on some of the key visas that students really do tend to apply for after they've completed their studies, and just tell you a quick update on some significant changes in those streams. And the first one I'd like to touch on is the subclass 485 temporary graduate work visa. Now, this is a visa most students tend to apply for once they've completed their studies. There are two streams, the graduate work stream and then the post-study work stream. Now, there hasn't been many changes to the graduate work stream, but there has been a significant change to the post-study work stream. And what that change is they're actually allowing visa holders of the 485 to actually apply for a second 485. And this is just really, really helpful in regards to obtaining work experience. But to sort of achieve that second graduate work visa, you sort of have to plan ahead, because to get the second work visa in the post-study work stream, you actually had to have been studying in regional Australia on your student visa. So you had to, while you're holding the student visa, been studying in regional Australia. Now, if they're successful in being granted the temporary graduate work visa, so the first subclass 485, during that period, they have to have lived, worked, or studied in that regional area for 2 years. And then if they fit those requirements and any other requirements of that visa, they are then eligible for a second graduate work visa. Now, in that second work visa, they have to declare an intention they're going to continue residing in regional area. Now, why is that so important? Is because if they are planning to proceed to want to migrate here or get a permanent visa, work experience in Australia is imperative. So that sort of takes me to the next visa, subclass 482, the temporary skills shortage visa. Now, the temporary skills shortage visa, the subclass 482, as you all probably know, has replaced the subclass 457. And one of those significant changes with the 482, the temporary skills shortage visa, is the mandatory requirement of 2 years work experience, which wasn't there before in the subclass 457 visa regime. Now, that's why it's really important to be able to get that graduate work visa, the subclass 485, because that gives students that opportunity. So the subclass 485 can be granted, depending on the stream, between 18 months to 4 years. So for the subclass 485, if you satisfy the requirements for the graduate work stream, you are eligible for a 18-month visa. Now, for this temporary skills shortage visa, you need 2 years work experience. So where it does get a bit handy is the post-study work stream, where you can actually be granted the visa between 2 to 4 years. I'll give you an example. If I finish a bachelor's degree in Australia, and I'm holding a student visa, I am granted a 2-year temporary graduate work visa. If I complete a master's by research, I'm eligible for a 3-year temporary graduate work visa. And if I complete my doctorate, I am on a student visa, of course, I am granted a 4-year temporary graduate work visa. Now, you can see how important that is, because the visas I'm about to discuss, for example, the temporary skills shortage visa, subclass 482, requires a minimum of 2 years work experience in your nominated occupation. Now, with this temporary skills shortage visa, you do need an employer to sponsor you. I will discuss the pathways if you don't have an employer to sponsor you, but it's really important now that they do have these pathways or are able to gain this work experience. So that's a big change between the 457 and the 482. So you can no longer apply for the 457. It's only the subclass 482. Now, in regards to the government's response to the COVID pandemic, they've actually released a priority skills list, and the link is on the slide right now. Now, on that priority skills list, there's 44 occupations, and if the occupation is on this skills list, you do have priority processing. Now, there's a number of occupations, and they range from accountants, engineers, medical professionals, and chefs. Now, this is a skills list to really support and help with the recovery from the impact of COVID-19. And as I said previously, the issue is that now the migration framework is so fluid, any of this can change at any point. So again, I do reiterate that students should really study a course that they're interested in, rather than obtaining a migration outcome, because any of these pathways or visa options could change. And they are based on skills lists, and those lists can change. Now, general skilled migration is another option. Now, with general skilled migration, just a quick overview about how it works is that you are required to lodge an expression of interest. You can't automatically apply for this visa. You must be invited to apply. and it's based on a points test and skills lists as well. So these skills lists can change as well. Now, some visas require state or territory nomination. There are three main general skilled migration visas. Subclass 189, which does not require state or territory nomination. Subclass 190, that does require state or territory nomination. And subclass 491, that does require state or territory nomination or family sponsorship. Now, in regards to state and territory nomination, again, this is based on what the state and territory's requirements are. So I've placed on the slide the relevant links to each state and territory that students can have a look at in regards to understanding what the nomination requirements are at that point. Again, just be mindful that what, for example, Victoria is focusing on now, which is, for example, those STEM occupations, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, could change by the time a student visa holder has completed their studies. So it's really beneficial to keep updated with what each state and territory is looking for. I would tell you to be just mindful that although there has been some allowances for student visa holders, when you're coming to the points test for general skilled migration, those allowances don't extend to how you calculate your points under the points test. I'll give you an example. You can obtain points for studying in regional, studying and living in a regional area. There isn't concessions for studying online overseas at the moment in regards to that. So again, although there are, that's why you need to be a bit careful, although there are concessions in some visas, they don't then relate to further visas. The Global Talent Visa, subclass 858, is one of the new type of visas. It's not absolutely new. It used to be called the Distinguished Talent Visa. They have now changed the name to the Global Talent Visa. But what it's sort of opened up the doors for is for PhD graduates. So they are accepting to a degree PhD graduates who have studied or done research in priority sectors. So the priority sectors include resources, agri-food and ag tech, energy, health industries, defence, advanced manufacturing and space, circular economy, digitech, infrastructure and tourism, financial services and fintech, and education. I've popped a link there as well to globalaustralia.gov.au, which is a website dedicated to this global talent visa. And what the department has advised in their policy is that PhD studies in these areas and students that have been internationally recognised in their research in these areas and could obtain an income of the equivalent of the Fair Work High Income threshold of 158,500 could be eligible for this global talent visa. Now, the great thing about this visa, it's not really based on a specific occupation or a skills list. It's more focused on areas, and also it's a permanent visa. So it's a really great visa in the fact that there's no specific requirement for years of experience. We're looking at students who've completed their PhDs in certain areas and are internationally recognised or outstanding in their field, and would attract a certain amount of income, being that Fair Work High Income threshold. So this is a really great visa to have a look at. So that concludes my updates in regards to the migration program. Again, in sort of summary, there has been some allowances in regards to the COVID-19 impact. They've also sort of targeted where they're looking at now with the priority list. the introduction of the global talent visa, and also the introduction of a second graduate work visa, which I think a lot of students will find quite beneficial if they're happy to study in regional Australia. So hopefully you have found that part of today's seminar helpful. Again, if you've got any questions about what I have just explained, please pop it in the chat box and I will answer them while this seminar is continuing. Now, what I would like to move on to is giving you a little bit of an insight on our Graduate Diploma of Migration Law at Victoria University. Okay, so the Graduate Diploma in Migration Law at Victoria University has been running for quite a long time now. You may have heard of it already. I just wanted to give you an update in regards to the program. We are still running the program both in a part-time and full-time capacity. And although we had to move to online during COVID, from next year we are hoping to run face-to-face classes. So we will have a blended mode of both face-to-face, online, and students can change in between face-to-face and online. So it does cater for all students. We do have also, to provide our students flexibility, we have both weekend classes and evening classes. So we are sure there will be a class to fit the client's needs. Now, the Graduate Diploma has 8 subjects, and the subjects run through a number of topics. So we do introduce students to how the legal framework works in Australia. We explain in depth how the migration framework works. It is a complex area, but we do guide the students through these 8 subjects. We teach the students all about the different visas in the migration framework in regards to family, visitor visas, medical treatment visas, resident return visas, student visas, protection visas. We then move on to economic type of visas, being employer-sponsored visas, skilled visas, and business visas. So we go through the whole program. We also then explain to students that the law governing cancellation of visas. We explain to students in regards to review rights, both merits review, judicial review, ministerial intervention. We also discuss with students how to apply the migration framework in a practical sense, and how we do that as well as we complement that subject with actual practical placement in migration agencies or law firms. Students really love that practical exposure to the migration industry. And then we finalize with one subject being managing a migration agent business. A lot of our students do sort of move on to opening their own business. So we go through quite a broad overview and a lot of topics in the migration framework. What we pride ourselves with at VU in regards to this course is that all of our lecturers work in the migration industry. So we have accredited immigration law specialists that are teaching the students in this program. We have barristers, we have former administrative appeals tribunal members as well. So what you get from this program is that you get both the legal perspective, but you also get the practical perspective. And that's what we've always received feedback from students, in that they love that we're teaching them real life what's going on in the migration industry, because we're all practicing in that area. Now, this is full-time, a 1-year course. Again, as I said, it can be part-time, it can be taken part-time. In regards to becoming registered as a migration agent, we do let you know that the student has to be a permanent resident or an Australian citizen. There are exceptions. There's no exceptions about that. But if you want to provide immigration assistance in Australia, you do have to be registered or a practicing lawyer. There are some exceptions to that. However, where international students find it really helpful is that it helps them develop an understanding of the Australian migration system, and this helps them in if they're working in an overseas law firm, if they're working for an accounting firm or a global labour movement firm as well. So we find that students, even though they may not be able to be registered in Australia, find that this course really helps them in an international perspective. So it really is a great course if you really want to get an in-depth understanding of Australia's migration system. Now, if you'd like any more information, there is a slide up on the screen now. That first link will take you to the homepage and provide you more information about the course. But the second link, the email address, the migration.law@vu.edu.au, will provide you it's a direct email to our migration team. So if you have any questions, they would be more than happy to help. So thank you everyone for your time. It's been great to have you here and answering your questions in the chat box. If you do have any more questions, please do continue to pop them into the chat box and I'll be answering them for you. So thank you so much, everyone, and take care.